Good morning, and it's morning where I'm filming this because I've got a gig today. I have been sent an EAD10 by my new friends over at Yamaha, and this video isn't sponsored. Sorry, this is something that I would have bought anyway, but when you get an email basically asking, hey, can we send you the free thing that you would have bought anyway? I'm like, yes, you can. So it's really kind of them to send it to me, but they don't have any like say on what I say in this video and that normal stuff. So just want to be clear on that. But what's exciting about this and why I wanted it is because I'm using it to record a gig, use for my in-ear monitors, to sample, so replacing the SPD-SX, and I'm going to be replacing the samples on it, so then it doesn't have that very stereotypical compressed EAD10 sound, which some people love, but I don't. I hate the sound of the EAD10. So I'm going to put my samples on it to make it sound even better, which I didn't know you could do. I'll be using it with a trigger to use the SPD-SX to record the gig, to monitor the gig, and to make sound good, and it's really exciting. And then in a future video, it's really dark in here, and then in a future video, I will be using it to control backing tracks with MIDI alongside recording it, alongside sampling from it, so using it as a sample pad, alongside putting my own samples in it, alongside monitoring. Basically, like how far can I push the EAD10? So anyway, I'm gonna start packing up the kit, but let me talk you through my plan. So here's what I'm thinking. What am I thinking? If this can turn into something that you can just put up on your bass drum and you can record a gig and you can use it as a sample pad, so using external triggers with it, and MIDI control things, and use it for your inner monitors, it suddenly turns into this incredibly powerful thing that I actually didn't realize was so powerful, because I always thought of it as like the Instagram drummer. You record Instagram reels from it, and like LS Tapario, Eloy Casagrande, that sort of like, they're two very difficult names to pronounce, I've just realized, but that sort of sound, that thing, and I didn't really want that. But actually, if you can record a gig, monitor it at the same time with good sounds by importing your own samples, then suddenly actually it becomes quite a valuable thing. And if it can replace my SPD-SX in the way that it's a sampler and uses MIDI, but it can also record a gig, that's way better. As a side note as well, because I think this is great, this is the like tech bag that I bring to all of my gigs. It has stuff like in-ears, chargers, in-ear pack, cables, like headphones, spare camera batteries, that sort of stuff, like mounts, cables, hard drives, camera goes here, etc. But what's great is the EAD10 is in here. So you can see it here. There's obviously the main unit, then you've got all the cables, the trigger cables in here, and underneath here, you can kind of see it, there's the actual main unit itself. So I thought that was pretty cool, and I was really proud of that. So this is a function gig, which is the perfect place to use it because a lot of people do functions and a lot of people want to take function footage, but you want like a nice recording of the kit, but you don't want the phone footage and GoPro stuff and that sort of stuff. So these are the problems that I'm trying to solve. Record the gig, make it sound good, not the compressed EAD10 sound. Second thing, use triggers with it to replace an SPD-SX, and to do that I'm going to be using the Roland PD8, so that's where you know this video isn't sponsored. And normally I'd use like the Roland RT30HR for the snare trigger, just because it's a kick trigger and a snare trigger in the EAD10, but Yamaha have sent me a trigger, so I'll use that instead. But this is going to sit next to my hi-hats, which I'll show you at the gig, and that's going to have like clap sounds and very stereotypical function sounds, which in theory should be recorded when you hit record on the Yamaha. Right, so that's everything, I think, everything from this container that I might need for this gig, packed, he says, until I drive, and I'm like, I need to, like we all do. I have a list, it never works. Anyway, let me go back to the home office, the studio at home, and I'll show you how I'm importing the samples, the general plan, how I'm gonna trigger it with the PD8, and then also the difference between like a Roland RT30 trigger and the Yamaha one, because it's quite interesting, and I've never seen a Yamaha one before, so there you go. But anyway, let's head back there. I'll show you how we're doing it. So here we are back home. I put a hoodie on because it's quite cold. Here's how I'm importing and doing everything with the EAD10. So firstly, if you're looking for a quick tutorial on importing samples to the EAD10, I made a quick video that you can check out just up there. It's in short, it's less than a minute long. So I'd recommend saving that, adding it to your favorites, saving it for later. That's my goal with that tutorial, because it's super easy, super quick, but anyway, you can check that out just up there. The samples that I'm using for this are kind of ridiculous, and it's because I love doing stuff like that. So this is with the Gojira. Their samples, and that's for the kick. And then for the snare, I'm using the Brooks Wackerman snare sample because it just sounds wildly crazy and I love it. Both of these are mixed wave, just in case you're interested in them. I bought them outright myself. Sadly, I wish I could say, here's a discount code, but I can't. So they're the ones that I'm using. Now, the way I set this up is I literally just open Logic. I open a new software instrument track with these on. I put a MIDI note where the instrument is, and then I put that at the velocity I want. In my case, I'm actually gonna do it at about 120. And then I export just that one one thing at 16-bit 44.1 and a WAV. I do that for both the kick and the snare, and then I put that onto the memory stick that I'm putting onto the EAD10. Now this memory stick I keep completely blank. You want to put the samples on the main folder, so don't put it in any subfolders or anything like that. That memory stick goes into the back of the EAD10. Then you can just import it. The EAD10 will copy onto the unit itself. Have I said the words EAD10 enough? But it'll copy it onto the unit so you don't have to keep the memory stick in the whole time. I then select the kick and the snare and I put the sample on it. It's as easy as that. Like I said, there's a whole tutorial that I did if you want a more detailed look. This is the same with the PD8, so I'll plug in the PD8, put the clap sound on it. It's just my favorite clap sound. I use it in every one of my videos, and that's how I'm importing the samples. It's really easy. And again, my favorite bit is that you don't have to keep the memory stick in. It copies it to the internal memory, and that just makes everything so much easier. So the general plan of where this is going to go on the gig is that the kick unit is going to go on the kick, obviously. Then the PD8 is going to be mounted just underneath my ride because I like to think I'm Stanley Randolph. And then the EAD10 unit itself is going to go next to my hi-hat. I'll be honest, sometimes I just put this on the floor because I'm lazy, can't be bothered to mount it. But in this case, I am actually mounting it with the mount that comes with it. Then for recording, my plan is just to use the inbuilt recorder. There's a big record button, so I'm going to press that and see what happens. Finally, I mentioned the difference between the Roland trigger and the Yamaha one. I'll be honest, there's not a huge amount of difference. I actually prefer the Yamaha one, and that's not just because they sent it to me, but because it actually feels a bit more sturdy. So the Roland one is basically made out of plastic. It sits on top and the jack comes out the side. The Yamaha one, it curves around the corner, and it means that the jack comes out of the side of the snare drum basically, rather than the top. And I really like that, it's really subtle. The only main other difference is actually the, I think it's the piezo, is how you pronounce it? Basically what the triggers are, the thing that triggers. On the Roland, it's a little cone. On the Yamaha, it's a big piece of foam. That piece of foam on the Yamaha dampens the snare a little bit, whereas it doesn't so much on the Roland one. Just something to consider. I really like it because it makes my snare sound amazing. But apart from that, both triggers are pretty much the same. They do the same thing. I'm just leaning towards the Yamaha one because it's chrome, so it's more subtle. I like where the jack comes out. It's a bit more sturdily built, so it's a bit heavier, and I like how it dampens the drum. But just something to consider if you're looking at triggers and you're not sure which one to buy. Make sure you subscribe to the channel because I'll be putting out a few shorts on actually looking at these two triggers and which one you should buy, what I think about them, that sort of stuff. Right, well, good morning. Now you're probably thinking, good morning, this is supposed to be the gig footage. You just came from the studio and now you're in a hotel saying good morning. Yes, so last night was the gig. Let me talk you through what happened, what went wrong, and generally everything. Because the only footage I managed to get was of Soundcheck and then the gig itself, because it was quite manic. The good news though is that Brad, our amazing sound engineer, recorded my in-ear mix, the front of house mix, all of the stems, and basically a bunch of other stuff, so you can actually hear what the EAD10 sounds like in context on its own versus my in-ear mix. So let's get into that because it's really, really cool. Thank you, Brad. You're amazing. So let's start with the setup and actually the problems that I faced. So the first thing is getting to Soundcheck, setting up the EAD10. It's actually really, really easy, and we know this anyway because it's been out since 2017-ish. So setting up the EAD10, great. I wish I had a better mount for it, which I do have, so then I could tuck the module away. But one of the later problems that I'll talk about in a second is that the cable that I then had wasn't long enough to go from EAD10 to camera. In terms of the triggers, as you can see, I then used the trigger underneath the ride. A little bit Stanley Randolph, which is not as high, but I enjoy putting a PD8 pad there when I only have the two toms. It just feels quite nice, and it also evens out the kit a little bit. So yeah, setup wise, super easy, super simple, and worked great. Now the issues, let's start with the trigger first. So you can see it in this footage, but I didn't have the trigger sample loud enough. So as you can see, I'm hitting the sample with the clap, but you can't really hear the clap, and that's because I needed to turn up that trigger sound. And that's something I only found out on the gig while playing. And then the modules behind me, which brings me beautifully onto my second point, of that it needed to be near the camera so I could plug in the master output to the camera. And that's because I didn't realise that the EAD10 only has an internal recording length of about 2 minutes. Now I only found this out during Soundcheck, and I didn't have any other way of recording stuff. And this is user error. It's probably very clear in the manual, but in my head I was like, great, hit record, hit recorder, and it will just internally record until I've filled up the memory, and then I can take it off and it's perfect. And then during Soundcheck. As you can see, I turned to look over and it says maximum recording time reached, and I was deeply upset. So a lot of Soundcheck was me just hitting record again and again and again. That's kind of really annoying because there's a big record button on the EAD10. I'd love to just hit that and then the whole gig's recorded and I don't have to worry about it. That was a big issue. So it meant that I didn't record the full Soundcheck because suddenly I'm having to hit record whenever I notice. But anyway, the audio itself from the EAD10 actually was amazing. Like, importing my own samples was great. I didn't end up using the trigger on the snare drum because I just didn't remember to bring it. So we've all been there. We can just move on from that. Okay, great, thanks. It does have that EAD10 sound from the reverb and the fact that the snare is just the built-in snare sound, and I didn't change that, but using a different kick trigger, subtle, but starts to open out the sound, for me anyway, a little bit more. So I'm excited to put a trigger on the snare so then we can really make the EAD10 sound like us rather than just an EAD10. So let's actually go through the sounds on the gig to hear the difference. So what I'll do is I'll put text on the screen because it's probably the easiest, but I'll go through the EAD10 versus my in-ear mix versus mixed stems, and then I'll start to combine them. So what does the EAD10 sound like if that was in my in-ears? And then equally, what would that sound like in the mix if you're using the EAD10 rather than the drum mics? So it's been a few days since I've done these gigs, and I'm now back home, as you can see. What I found most interesting about making this video and using the EAD10 is how much it lives in my bag. It's just there. I don't take it out, it's so easy to tuck in, and it's not very heavy either. The unit is surprisingly light, and that's quite amazing for what it is. I've used it on a couple more gigs since making this video, and I've really refined that sound, so make sure you're following Drum Electrical on Instagram to check that out. But before buying one, here's some things to consider, and the things that I didn't like about the unit, and that I still don't like, but I don't think I'll be selling one, unlike when I did when I first bought it back in 2017. So the first thing is the active use of the EAD10 by Yamaha. And what I mean by this is that they released this unit in 2017, and it's amazing and still is, but there hasn't really been any significant update or any update since then. The same compressed sound is the same, there's no new reverbs, there's no new samples that I know of, or any major updates. I'm sure there's been a few firmware, software updates since then, as is natural technology, but there's not been a significant new thing like you find in a lot of tech after what is coming along to be 9 years now. And I'm always wary of this when it comes to samples and things like that. Same with the SPD-SX, where it took Roland like 12 years to bring out the Pro. Too much of a long time for what is one of your flagship models. That's just my opinion. I just like tech when it's updated, especially when you get user feedback. The second thing, and the biggest thing for my case, is actually how giggable it kind of isn't. And what I mean by this is that there's things like the power supply is a really flimsy 12 volt, that sort of thing, input that can be very easily kicked and tripped over and immediately broken when you're packing up that sort of thing. Then there's also the outputs, where you've only got 2 stereo outputs and the headphone outputs. This only becomes a problem when maybe I just want to send triggers to front of house, but I want to send everything to my mixer. Suddenly I've immediately run out of outputs. I could worm my way around using the master outputs and the headphone outputs to get something like this, but suddenly I'm already using workarounds to get it. It's the same as if I'm putting the EAD10 through front of house and using that as the drum microphones. Well, I want to separate everything. So I want overheads, kick, snare, toms, and then samples if I'm using those. Straight away, you're looking at 5 to 6 outputs, which we don't have on the EAD10. So immediately that tells me it's not really a unit for bigger, more powerful, I guess, sessions, gigs. It's very much aimed at the at-home drummer. It's going to sit in your studio, it's going to record your drums at home. And to be fair, most of the marketing is that, hence the Rec and Share app where you can play along to your favorite songs. That's not aimed at bands, that's aimed at people at home, and that's great. But as someone that's only going to use it live, I'm not really going to use it at home. It'll be nice to see even like a Pro model, the EAD10 Pro, that has like a kettle lead input or multiple outputs or even a 5-pin MIDI output, that sort of thing, the things that you normally see on bigger interfaces, bigger shows, that sort of stuff. It's a very specific problem, but it's a problem that I have. But I mean, overall, would I buy this in what is now 2026? I absolutely would. It's a really, really great product, and actually a lot of drummers underuse it. I didn't realize that you could use MIDI with it, control Ableton rigs, play samples with it, import your own samples and make it sound completely different to what everyone else makes it sound like on Instagram. Like that sort of stuff. I didn't know you could do. And now that I've got the unit, actually I want to see how far you can push it. And if you want to see how far I can push it, you should subscribe to the channel, because I'll put out tutorials on how to do this sort of stuff and what I'm doing with it and how I'm controlling Ableton with it and sampling and all of that sort of fun stuff is all on the channel. So let's chat in the comments down below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.